Imagine this, the warm sun on your back, the ocean sparkling all around, and you dive deep beneath the waves. The water is calm and clear. But suddenly, a strong underwater current grabs you and pulls you far away from your friends and your boat. When you resurface, the waves get bigger. The sky turns orange and then dark. You're alone in a huge, rolling ocean. What do you do next? Welcome to Believe It or Not, the show where weird is real and the truth is stranger than fiction. I'm your host, Bryan. In this episode, I'll tell you an incredible true story about a teenage freediver who disappeared in the ocean for hours. Are you ready? Then let's dive in. Dylan Gartenmayer was 22 years old when this story happened, but he was already a very experienced freediver. Freediving means diving underwater without any air tanks, just holding your breath and exploring the sea. Kind of like a dolphin. Dylan loved the ocean, and he had trained for more than a decade to help him be safe. One sunny day near the Florida Keys, Dylan and his friends went out on a boat ride for a diving adventure. The water was warm and clear, perfect for diving. Dylan took a deep breath and dove down, exploring the coral reefs and colorful fish. But underwater, a strong current called the Gulf Stream grabbed Dylan. Now you see, the Gulf Stream is a powerful river of warm water that flows quickly through the Atlantic Ocean. And it can move much faster than most people can swim. And because of this, it pulled Dylan far away from the boat and his friends. By the time he resurfaced, the current had pulled him so far away that his two friends never saw him come back up. He soon disappeared from view. His friends scoured the choppy water for half an hour. When they couldn't find him, they decided it was time to call in for backup. They called the Coast Guard to help in the search. Now, Dylan later told people that he could still see the boat for a long time, but that they couldn't see him. And they couldn't hear him either. Now, a short while later, while floating, Dylan came across a bamboo stick that was luckily floating by, and he used it to help him stay afloat until he was able to swim across the current and back to the reef. Unfortunately, by the time he had done that, which was over a 2-mile swim, it was about 5 p.m., and his friends had left because their boat didn't have any lights, and it was starting to get dark. Exhausted, but still thinking clearly, Dylan cut 3 buoys to create a hammock-like device that helped him stay afloat. Now, while Dylan was focused on survival, his friends and family worked frantically to find and rescue him. Dylan's friends called his mom to tell her that Dylan was diving, and suddenly he went missing. He had been missing for 2 hours at that point. But Dylan's mom, she acted fast. She told them to send her the coordinates while she raced to Dylan's grandfather's house to get on his boat and go find her son. Within 15 minutes, family and friends had gathered and jumped into Dylan's grandfather's boat to go and find him. At first, his mom thought the worst. She thought he had blacked out while diving and drowned. She said the feeling was the worst feeling she had ever felt in her whole life. But she didn't give up hope. She plugged in the coordinates of the location where Dylan was last seen and dashed away at high speed. Now, by this point, the light was fading, and they didn't have much time before total darkness would make their rescue efforts much more difficult. Now, when they got to the coordinates, they started to search. And after searching for about 2 more hours, the light was gone, and they had to continue the search by flashlight. But even in this situation, they kept hope. They knew that if anyone could make it, it was Dylan. But still, everyone was nervous. They continued to scan the water with these big flashlights. Now, do you remember earlier in the story when I told you Dylan had made that flotation device from those buoys? Well, it was a good thing he did, because each of those buoys was covered in a reflective tape that helped him catch the light from his mom's flashlight. That reflection helped his mom see Dylan in the water, even though he was wearing a black wetsuit. His mom said everything was silent on the boat until the flashlight hit him and he put his hands up. We finally knew he was okay. After nearly 5 hours in the water, Dylan was pulled aboard the boat. He was safe, and his story of survival and smarts amazed everyone. Now, here are a few fun facts about this story. Did you know that the Gulf Stream can move at speeds of up to 5.6 miles per hour? That's faster than the fastest Olympic swimmers. Next, freedivers like Dylan can hold their breath underwater for several minutes. In fact, the world record for holding breath is over 11 minutes. And finally, the Florida Keys are home to one of the largest coral reef systems in the world. It's sometimes called the Amazon of the Seas because of its amazing underwater life. Now, it's your turn to think. First, what do you think helped Dylan survive being lost in the ocean? Was it staying calm and using his freediving skills? Holding on to the buoy to stay visible? Or his family and rescuers who never stopped searching? Now, Dylan's story teaches us that if you ever go near the ocean, remember to always stay safe, never dive alone, and wear a big, bright float or flag. And always tell someone where you're going. That's it for today's story on Believe It or Not. Next time, in episode 55, we'll hear about Lieutenant Colonel William Rankin, a U.S. Air Force pilot who ejected from his plane at 47,000 feet, way above the tallest mountains, and then spent nearly 40 minutes spinning inside a fierce thunderstorm. Hail, lightning, and crazy winds tossed him around before he finally landed safely. Rankin flew combat missions in the Korean War and became a legend for surviving this unbelievable experience. You won't want to miss it. Until then, keep wondering, keep learning, and remember, sometimes the truth is weirder than fiction.